Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to 12 and a half minutes, and a special welcome to our guest, Bill Aulet, live from a pickup truck in Boston. How are you, Bill?
Greetings, everybody. Can you hear me, Andy?
We can hear you just fine, Bill. You had me worried there for a moment.
Fantastic. I don't know what's happened, but the sound here isn't great right now.
Well, listen, we can hear you just fine, Bill, and thanks so much for joining us. You are quite literally calling from Boston from your truck. Is that correct, Bill?
Well, it's great to be here, and I'm sorry that my reception is poor right now. It just was great a second ago.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a good chat in the green room before we come on. And of course, to everyone, you'll know perhaps who Bill Aulet is, because Bill was our very first guest on 12 and a half minutes when we kicked off in April earlier on this year. So it's great to have you back on the program, Bill.
Okay, Andy, I can't hear you very clearly, but let me just give you my thoughts. Here we are in the final session of the elevator to 12 and a half minutes. So where are we? Because we started this off a while ago, and now we can see the light at the end of the tunnel with COVID. And we really appreciate you all, testing out this vaccine so we can then take it in the United States with high confidence. That was sarcasm, everybody. But we're really excited about that. We can now see the end. We've got multiple vaccines. It looks like it could be, early in the summer, but the economy will come back, and we've all borne through it. And at the end of this is not going to be the end for entrepreneurship. We're not going to go back to big companies rule, and that's what you should be. This is actually just signaling that there will be yet another wave of entrepreneurship. Just like with the internet, you saw there was adoption, then there was another level, then there was another level, and now we're getting to even another level. With entrepreneurship, there's another level. And we know this to be true because the pace of change, as we talked about last time, it will just continue to accelerate. This is we call the Sue Siegel's law. The world will never be as slow as it is today. And the entrepreneurship has been redefined. It's not just entrepreneurship equals startup. Entrepreneurship now is much more than startups. It's a mindset of attacking these things and changing. It's seeing opportunity where other people see crisis. It's taking what people get anxiety from and funneling that into positive energy. It's a skill set and not in doing it, not just a mindset, but a skill set. How do you do that? Talk about that. And then it's a way of operating, which is a much more efficient kind of distributed community-based model, which I'll talk about. And thank you for the question, Kat. I'll get to that in a second. But I think it's really important to note, and people are really getting their head around this. Entrepreneurship is a craft. It is not a science. It is not art. It is not something where it's you get it and there's a right answer like math. It's something that is a craft that you do and you learn through the apprenticeship model, and you get better and better at it. It's not something that's mysterious that only a few people can do. Everybody can do it. But as one of my students said yesterday in class, the final day of class, he said, there's one word to summarize this class to me, and it's variance, Bill. What you've done with the teaching us entrepreneurship has just decreased the odds of us failing and given us more confidence that we can do that, but it doesn't guarantee us. And that's the nature of entrepreneurship. And let me just say, just to reiterate a point from the first one, is this is a team sport. This is a team sport. And any of you think that the old ways of just one mercurial entrepreneur makes you successful, the world is much more complicated today, and you have to think of entrepreneurship as a team sport. So what should you do? I mean, here we are in the last session of Elevator in this 12 and a half minute. First of all, you should know there are opportunities out there. There are absolutely opportunities everywhere. And I'll talk about that in the Q&A. Get a team. Instead of just focusing on what's the right opportunity, figure out how do you get a team to pursue when you find that opportunity. Think about getting a hackathon. Socialize with people, work on projects. Don't socialize too much until we get the vaccine, but work with people virtually. Figure out how do you get your entrepreneurial soulmate, so when you can look for those opportunities and then follow up on it. And then be relentless on getting the best team possible. It might seem like, Andy and I work together and he might be great, but we might be friends. But if it's not the best team, you have to be relentlessly improving that team. And it's not about friendship. It's about delivering results. So that the first one is know there are opportunities out there. Second, get a team, focus on getting a team to do it. Third, be relentless about getting the best team possible. That means constant iteration. And you have to be willing to change the team. Just like in sports, you got it. Just because you won one year, that doesn't mean you throw the same people out the next year. You got to keep upgrading because the world's going to keep changing. 4, where are the opportunities? The opportunities clearly are relating to, and we're seeing this crystal clear. We don't know exactly what the world's going to look like at post-COVID, but digitization and AI are part of the solutions. It's like you didn't know where computers were going to be utilized. You didn't know where information technology, but you knew that they were going to transform the economy. Today, we know that more digitization is good. The companies that embrace that are doing fabulously now during the pandemic. The AI, we just set up a $1 billion plus investment in a new college of computing and AI. People who can use data, that's the future. Let me just give you an example. One of my sons, he left his job and he just said, I want to do this. He had a really strong team of 3 people. The company's called Ergata. And they looked around for a while. They studied the situation. They figured out, where were the opportunities? What were other companies doing? And they had a whole bunch of opportunities, but then they realized which ones could we really get passionate about? And they've started a company that's like Peloton, but doing it for rowers, but doing it in a fundamentally different way for a demographic, psychographic. He just told me they're on a run rate to do $30 million in their first year. And I can tell you that he doesn't have good genes because he's my son. So it should inspire any of you that you can do this. Even if you're Scottish, you can do it. That's a joke, everybody, but and that's the type of opportunities we're seeing. When you look at Zoom, when you look at Grubhub, when you look at Peloton, you just got to see where the opportunities are and go after them. I'm not saying you'll be 30 million the first year, but what will make you successful is clock speed. You've got to go fast. You've got to move quickly. And not only do you have to move quickly, you have to have the mentality that you got to think next play. You can't wallow in the past. You got to think next play. And you got to realize nobody knows the answer. There's no guru out there who's going to tell you this is where you should go. You have to find your own path to do that. And even if they say it, they don't know. Nobody knows anything. You've got to figure out what's your hypothesis that you think is going to work, and then put it out there, realizing that it's incomplete and probably not correct, but test that hypothesis very rapidly with clock speed and iterate. And when you do that, don't do it on gut feel. Do it on evidence-based analysis. Do it on data to say, what are customers' engagement? What are the click-through rates? How long are they using it? How much do they renew it? What's the cost of customer acquisition? What's the lifetime value look like? And when you look at I encourage all of you to go, and there's a podcast called How I Built This in the United States by NPR, and listen to the one of April of 2019 about the guy from Peloton, John. And it's just an amazing story about how he just goes through and builds Peloton with perseverance, resilience plus, but driven by evidence. And then the thing I would say where I think this is really important is don't just build your own team, build a community as well. Entrepreneurship is pursuit of opportunities with resources beyond your control. That means find other people that bring value and you can bring value to them. It doesn't mean just form a commune and everybody, shares everything. You've got to find productive people and build a good community. And, I know this will sound like motherhood and apple pie, but get better every day. Just every day, go out there and get better. Get a little bit better, get a lot better, but every day you got to get better because you got to keep improving. You can't stand still. And then when you see the window of opportunity, when you see that window, you're starting to get product market fit. Something happens. You've got to go all in and push the chips and sprint then. And until then, you're kind of buying time. But once you see that opportunity, you got to go for it. And then the last thing I'll just say, you say, well, I don't know, it's not perfect. There's still risk. I'd ask you, sometimes I have this with students and they say, that all sounds great, but, I don't know if it's going to work. And I look and I say, what's the option? What are you going to do otherwise? Do you want to go work at a big company? Because you have a lot of risk there, my friend. The company might not do well. You might work for someone who's a knucklehead who doesn't like you. What are you going to do then? The option of being an entrepreneur, getting out there, taking advantage with all the support you have in Scotland, go for it. With that, Andy, I turn it back.
Yeah, fantastic, Bill. I'm not sure have we got audio back, Bill? Are you able to hear us?
We do. We finally, it just had to go through Russia, through Vladimir Putin for the next 49 days. But after that.
Fantastic. You were at least able to kill 10 minutes of time till we got the audio working. But, Bill, that's a hugely valuable amount of content that you've been able to break down for us. And we do have some questions that have come in on Facebook and LinkedIn. And I'll just go to the first one here, which is a question from our very own Kat Ward. Are you able to read that question okay, Bill?
What types of business can we expect to see emerging post-COVID? I would encourage you to look at the Anti-Fragile Entrepreneurship Speaker Series on our website. And we had analysts from the Forrester Group and other places talking about this. And the quick answer is anything that involves digitization. It's not that offline businesses are going to go away, but anything you can do to make your business more online, to digitize it, to get away from the analog world is good. If you're in the hospitality and tourism business industry, you got to think of what else can we do to take advantage of digitization. There will still be those things and people are going to show up and want a physical experience, but that dial is being turned down while the digitization is being turned up.
Yeah, really important one there. We've got another comment, LinkedIn user, and I know that this is a subject really close to your heart, Bill, but, can you really develop entrepreneurship? And is it a word that's been kind of watered down over the years?
Yeah, so first of all, I'm an engineer, so whenever someone says entrepreneurship or innovation, I ask them to define their terms. What do you mean by that? And so, I can just tell you what we can teach entrepreneurship. That is the odds to increase the odds of being successful, of creating a new organization where there was not one before, of creating a product where there was one not before. I'm not talking about optimizing an existing system, but that is clearly what we do. And so it can be taught. And it is being taught. The evidence is there. Just go out and look at the website, disciplinedentrepreneurship.com. You'll see a paper I wrote on this. And it must be taught. So if that's the definition, it's working. Is it used? Yeah, everybody. And we saw this in the United States. There's when what's the name? Obama and what was the guy? Mitt Romney running for president. They would say entrepreneurship, and one person was talking about SME entrepreneurship, small medium size. Another was talking about innovation-driven entrepreneurship. So I'd say it's you have to define your terms, and like anything else, it's just be careful. But is entrepreneurship going to be here the way that I'm defining it? The answer is hell yeah.
And of course, Bill, I just so happen to have a copy of your book right here. Available in all good bookshops. I'm sure it'd be a nice Christmas present for someone if they're interested.
Yes. Two things about it. First of all, it hasn't been translated to English yet. It's only in American. Yeah. But I think you can understand, how we colonial peasants speak. Secondly, someone once called it, somewhere between epic and legendary.
Must be on a reading list then. Great question there from Jules. So other skills that a best team needs in 2021 that are different or have increased in importance because of what we've shared in 2020?
Yeah, absolutely. Clock speed, Jules. Clock speed. You know, it used to be you could have a hacker and a hustler working together. And if the hacker was really good, the technical person, the product developer, and the hustler was really good, they could just come up and build a great company. Today, the connective tissue between them has to be stronger and there has to be blood flowing. You have to be able to iterate very, very rapidly. So the nature of a good team is a common vision. Of course, we're all going to go in this direction. This is what we're doing, not fixated on a product, but on a problem and a purpose. And then you have to have shared values that you can count on each other to do that. You believe in the same things. You can trust each other. And the third part is kind of different skill sets, complementary skill sets. But that being said, to answer Jules, you not only have to have those things, but you have to have very fast clock speed to move.
Yeah, speed of play. And talking of clock speed and looking at the clock, Bill, I know that you've got a rather busy schedule ahead of your day in Boston. And I think we're pretty much out of time based on what you had available to us, perhaps even a few moments over.
Yes.
Bill, it's been a real pleasure to have you back on to 12 and a half minutes. No doubt we'll check in with you again in 2021 at some point. But Bill Aulet, thanks so much for coming on the programme, and have a wonderful holiday period, and hope we can return to seeing you in person at some point soon, Bill.
Would love it. Thank you, Andy, so much, and happy holidays to everybody out there, and let's stay safe, and we'll get to the other side of this. Just might be a little while, but we're gonna defeat it, and we'll be back as entrepreneurs, and we'll bring the economy back to where it was.
Brilliant.
Thanks, everybody. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, Bill. Thanks again. Bye now. Bye-bye. An absolute whirlwind of fantastic advice, really packed in there from Bill. Lots of key points that I'm sure you'll want to watch back over again just to take some of those key messages out of. So it was great that Bill was able to join us. He's already left our studio, so he's dashed off. So a huge thanks to Bill. A huge thanks to all of our guests that have joined us on 12 and a half minutes over the last year. We kicked this off in April, in a response to the situation that we were all finding ourselves in. And we have had some tremendous guests coming in to share their stories, their challenges, and how they've overcome those particular things, whichever field that they're in. So a huge thanks to everyone that has joined us. Thanks to all the team at Elevator, those that are behind the scenes, that make sure this program runs without hitch or hesitation every Friday or every second Friday to bring this program to you. So a huge thanks to the folks at Elevator. Huge thanks to STV, of course, who we introduced last time as the new sponsor of 12 and a half minutes. So it's great to have them on board. But of course, thank you to all of you who have joined us each broadcast, whether that's on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, to speak to our guests or listen to our guests as we've gone through a conversation. So thank you very much if you've been joining in over the last year. And that really is it. That is a wrap for 2020. We will be back at some point, I'm sure, in 2021, perhaps with a slightly different format, slightly different way of doing things. But nevertheless, the conversations, the interviews, the inspiration, the information, and the hope will continue throughout 2021. So thanks, everyone. I'd like to wish you all the very best over the next few weeks, and especially, of course, over the festive period. And as always, we sign off with that message of be brave.